Hey, hi, and welcome back. So in previous video, we discussed the Gerber files, okay? Now we are all set to send our Gerber files to the PCB manufacturer, okay? But prior to that, I want you guys to follow one procedure, which I have named it as pre-ordering procedure. So what is this procedure? Let's see that in this video now. So pre-ordering procedure, it's actually not a standard procedure. I have just given this name pre-ordering procedure. It's because I want you guys to follow one procedure before you send your Gerber files to the PCB manufacturer. Because as you are getting started and after this training, you are going to design your first PCB. And while doing that, it might happen that you may do multiple mistakes in your PCB. Okay. That's the reason I want you guys to follow this particular procedure, and I have named it as pre-ordering procedure. So what you have to do in this particular procedure, you have to take the printout of your layout, and later you can cut that printout from its edges, okay? And later you have to stick that printout on the foam, or you can also use a thermocol. So you have to stick that printout with the help of sellotape, or you can also use a Fevicol. It's better you use the sellotape to stick the printout on this foam. And later in this procedure, you have to validate all the footprints which are actually present on your layout. Okay. So this method is actually going to avoid all the mistakes which are actually related to the footprint. And personally, I have done this kind of mistakes, multiple times when I was getting started with the PCB design. That's why I'm sharing this particular method with you, and this method is going to avoid a lot of mistakes, related to the footprint. Because when we are getting started, it happens most of the time we actually choose the wrong footprint. That's why it's better you validate all the footprints by placing the components physically on the, printout. And for that, you should have all the components, that you have used in your layout. Alright, so now let's place this particular connector first, and let's check whether the footprint for this connector is proper or not. Okay, so like this you can actually verify whether the footprint for the components are proper or not. So I will use this potentiometer now, and later I will place this potentiometer in its footprint, and you can see the from here we get the idea that the footprint for the potentiometer is correct. In the same way, I am going to place this DC female jack on this printout, and you can see from this we are actually able to verify whether the footprint of DC female jack is proper or not. Okay. In the same way you have to do for rest of the components. So I will do it for the crystal. So I will just place the crystal, and from this I get to know that the footprint for this particular crystal is proper. Okay. So likewise you have to validate the footprint for all the components, and with this method you are actually going to avoid all the mistakes which are actually related to the footprint. Okay. And I hope that this is clear now. Generally when we work on a high level product, at that time we actually create the 3D model of PCB, and there will be 3D model of all the components which we are using in our design, and we are going to place all the components, the 3D model of all the components on the PCB. And in that way we actually validate whether the footprint of all the components are proper or not. Okay, so in that case you don't have to do this particular procedure. But now as we are getting started, and as we are not covering the 3D model part in this training, so this is basically the best method to validate the footprint of all the components. Okay, so I hope that this particular procedure is now clear to you. So we have validated some of the footprints which are present on this layout. Okay, and in the same way you have to validate the footprints for all the components by placing the components on the layout. Okay, now we are all set to send our Gerber files to the PCB manufacturer. Okay, now in next video I am going to show you how to upload the Gerber files on the PCB manufacturer's website, and I will show you the detailed procedure to order the PCB from the online manufacturer's website. Okay, alright, so that's what I wanted to tell you in this video. Now I will see you in the next video, which is about how to order the PCB. Okay, so I will see you in the next video now.